And welcome to another special edition of Strange Planet as I share my journey with the blue bottle, as I call it. Asea redox molecules and Asea, of course, have managed to take trillions of redox signaling molecules and place them in this bottle where they are in a stable form. And I've been taking redox or Asea redox supplement for about, let me see, I think I'm into my third month now, two, maybe just shy of 3 months. And I've been sharing updates with you. I'm sleeping like a baby. I have the most profound and vivid dreams. So I'm really getting to some heavy REM sleep, which, of course, as we know, is so restorative. But I'd like to introduce you to someone who introduced this amazing supplement to Dr. David Silverman, who you met about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago, who, of course, was a foot and ankle surgeon for about 12 years. He became familiar with this product because of my next guest, and now he, of course, is with Asea's Medical Professionals Board. Debbie Wetzler joins us. Debbie, welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you also.
So, how did it begin for you?
Oh, wow. It was 12 and a half years ago. And I was living in Maryland at the time, close to Washington, D.C. and Virginia and those places. And it was a very close girlfriend that I'd had for many years who lived in Colorado at the time. And she called and we didn't speak that often. So she said, I haven't talked to you in a while, but I was introduced to something that's quite amazing. It has saved three of my best friends' lives. And she said, your name popped into my head last night, and I knew I was meant to call you. And she didn't know where I was at the time, but I was in a bad spot, not health wise, financially.
Uh,
And I thanked her very much, and she, told me a tiny bit about it, not much, but she just said, I'm going to send you a video. And I said, oh, I'll watch it. And I ran downstairs and I watched that video about 4 times. And it was introducing redox signaling molecules, which of course not many people had known about at that point. And but it's told me where they were made in the cells and what they did, activated your antioxidants and went and found damaged cells. And I was like, and this is the first time that anybody had been able to make and stabilize them. And I thought, man, if this is true, this has got to be huge. So the first name that popped in my head was a very good friend of mine, very smart lady who had graduated from Johns Hopkins as a molecular biologist. And she'd gotten a job at the National Institutes of Health, overseeing research and doing research herself. And she was in the mental division. So I called her immediately. I said, could you just verify a few things for me? I've never heard of something in science, and you're the only name I could think of that might be able to help me. So I drove to her house in Virginia that evening, and I put the information down in front of her. I'll never forget her face. She almost fell off her chair. She looked at me and said, Debbie, I've been studying these molecules for 17 years. We've had scientists from around the world come to the National Institutes of Health to try to do this. And you're telling me that somebody was finally able to stabilize these molecules outside the human body in a bioactive form? And I kind of looked at her and went, yes. She said, you have no idea how massive this is. This will change the medical field as you know it. And she went on, she said, there's no coincidence. And I said, yes. And she said, I happened to have brought home, and it was a textbook about 4 inches thick. She said, I happened to bring this home this weekend to do some extra research. I normally keep this at work. And she had me open every page was about redox. And I'm
uh,
looking at it thinking, wow, why hasn't anybody heard of this? Because I was a pretty good science person myself. And she said, well, not too many people pay attention to science, but she explained about the molecules a lot more to me. And she told me that they were very tiny, made of salt and water, and that these were so tiny and so reactive, they were meant to cross the blood brain barrier like they're supposed to. Drugs don't do that. And she said, so not only will you have amazing results in the body, and she listed them, so I won't to be compliant, but she said, you'll have amazing results with a lot of the mental issues that people are having, not remembering things, and and getting hurt in an accident and having damage up there and stuff. And I just remember standing there just getting chills, thinking, not only have I been introduced to something super extraordinary, but now I've been introduced to something that only one company has been able to make and do. So both things hit me as far as opportunity and the ability to help so many people, because when I was praying for something that would help me financially, that's what I prayed for, something that I could help people with and that would turn me around financially.
And then
So
you introduced it to Dr. David Silverman.
so um then I had to find out who was behind this, because I know this was a brand new company. And I know what happens to most brand new companies. They go under. And I had to know who was behind the company. So before I introduced it to really too many people, I got it immediately on my mother, who had major health issues, and some very good friends who happened to see the blue bottle in my house. And I want to try it. I said it's kind of like the fountain of youth. Um, I was able to fly to the launch of the product, and it was there that it was such a turnaround. What do you call it? An
An epiphany?
epiphany, but yeah, it indicated moment, that kind of thing, watershed moment. And I got to hear all the scientists and doctors. I got to hear testimonies that I never thought I would ever hear. And doctors certainly haven't ever seen things like that. And then I also got to hear how our founder, Vertus Norton, started the company from his own mouth on stage. And what he said to us at the very end, after he went into that, I'm sure your people know that story, um, is, I have done all this. I've stabilized them. I've started this company, but now I need your help. And he looked out into the audience and he said, if you don't go home and tell the people you love and family and friends about this, the world will still not know about it. Will you help me? And I remember everybody just being in tears, standing up and saying, yes, Vertus, we will definitely help you. It became many people's mission at that moment.
Right.
So
And
I
just
remember,
sorry
yeah,
to
go ahead.
interrupt, Debbie, but you
Go ahead.
in case people are seeing and hearing about this on my channel for the first time, the remarkable story is that the pharmaceutical company that wanted its hands on Asea and offered to pay an enormous amount of money
Yes,
to get it, he refused because he suspected they were simply going to put it on the shelf, as they say, and nobody would have it ever. So for him, it wasn't about the money. It was about getting the redox signaling molecules out into the world.
right. Yes. He also had already gotten it on 40 people. These were friends, family, and church members that he knew who had some major health issues, and 6 of them had been in hospice. And he just gave them the product and said, just report back to me. And in 2.5 months, all 40 had turned around so much, they had shipped it to people they loved, 135 more people in 20 countries. But when the pharmaceutical company said, here's the check, but if you take the check, you and everybody comes off the product, the first thing he thought about is, I can't look these people in the eye and tell them they can't have this anymore. And then he thought, okay, they're never going to put this out, you know, of course. So yes, that it was huge. And all of us sitting there went, oh my gosh, what would you have done in that case? Basically, you're being handed millions of dollars. Or would you turn it down and say, no, I can't do this to my friends? And you hope you would do the same thing, but um, you can think that not many people would do that.
That's what you call
So,
integrity.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, and that's what this company is founded on: integrity. Um, and so I kind of flew home without a plane after that, and I just thought, oh my gosh. And David is like a little brother to me. We'd known each other for about 20 years at that point, I think, and I knew This is brought by network marketing, and we were in a network marketing company, and it was another health related one, and that's how we all knew each other, a lot of us. And I was in his downline in that company, and I thought if I fly home and tell him this, there's no telling what he could do because that company was starting to sue people because a lot of us were going to Asea at that point.
Hmm.
And but I loved him and trusted him, and I just said, David, I called him and I said, we have to meet. There's something you have to know about, both as a friend, first of all, and then as a doctor. You need to know about this. And that's what I've told every doctor. If you don't learn about this, you'll be way behind. You at least need to learn about it. Um, and he was taken aback at first, and I'm sure it shocked him. And however, he trusted and listened to me. And luckily, he got it on his dad. So he first got to see a little bit about what it did for his dad, and now he knows for sure that this is, but he still needed, he's a doctor, and doctors are analysts, they're scientific, and they need proof. And he got some proof later on from a very good friend who had been his roommate, and when certain things happened, and he knew it wasn't a placebo effect,
Mm-hmm.
then he postponed going into the business for a while. It was over a year. Um, while he just kind of watched and listened and waited and stuff. But once he realized how big this was, he jumped right in and has been extremely successful.
Yes,
So,
Dr. David Silverman. Again, he was on the program just about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer. If anyone listening, watching wants more information, I would encourage them to see the website right there on the screen. It's also in the episode notes, strangeplanet.teamasea.com. But be sure to call or text Lynn. She's really my mentor in all this. Lynn is at 443-254 6024. And again, the number is right there on the screen. Whether you're interested, curious to learning more about the science behind this, whether you want to explore this as a business opportunity, network marketing, Lynn will answer all your questions. She'll point you in the right direction. Again, strangeplanet.teamasea.com, or call or text Lynn 443-254-6024. So in terms of the health benefits. Can you share any anecdotes for you personally?
well, my mother was my first person, and she was kind of like a poster child for this. And she had all kinds of health issues. She had heart issues. She had very bad breathing issues. She had very bad joint discomfort. She had very bad tingling in her legs that, was not a good sign at all. Um, she had an issue that a lot of people have. They eat the wrong thing and then they get a really bad uh, stomach, problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. And then she'd um, she had something else that would pop up. It was burning, like in nerve endings and stuff like that, that people get after they've had a disease. And then she had blood pressure issues and cholesterol issues, and then dry eye. I don't think that's a medical term, but anyway. Um, and so I got it immediately on her, and she called me. It was my first testimonial, so I was quite amazed. The first night, I told her to put this in her eyes, and she called me the next morning and she goes, I'm not having any issues with my eyes. And it had been bothering her for 3 or 4 months, and the doctor said, we don't have anything for this. And I said, oh, come on, Mom. And she said, no, seriously, my eyes feel amazing. They've been red, burning, itching, all that kind of stuff. It was horrible. Um, and that never came back. And so she just kept, and I told her this was going to help with her breathing. And so she kept drinking it, even though to her it didn't taste very good to begin with, because if you're out of balance, it doesn't taste very good. When you get into balance, it tastes like regular water.
That's
People always
true.
ask.
That's
That's
true. I never thought of that. Initially, it tasted, I described it as like pool water.
right.
Now it doesn't taste like pool water. It just tastes like regular water.
Regular water. There you go. So, and that's eventually what happened to her, but she had to get into balance. She was 88, so she was older and had probably 3 redox molecules left in her body. And,
Mm.
and anyway, slowly but surely, every single issue, including her breathing, her oxygen levels went up 20 points. And the doctor was like, "What are you doing?" Because she eventually got off. She only took the two medicines, and she eventually got off of those because everything came back into balance. And mom always tried to describe it. She goes, "Well, keep drinking your magic water, sweetheart. I'm sure it's doing something." So anyway, but yeah, I just kept seeing that. So, but it's helped so many friends. I don't think there's anything I haven't heard of at this point. I feel like a doctor sometimes because I'm always looking up what people are telling me that have, not that it matters. It doesn't matter. These molecules just go and find damaged cells, and any disease is a damaged cell. Any injury that hasn't healed is a damaged cell. Anything out of balance is a damaged cell. Blood sugar issues, blood issues, breathing issues, any of that stuff. They're all damaged cells. And so people can tell me what they have. It won't matter to me. I'm just saying, do you know what this does for damaged cells? It literally finds them, tells the immune system where to go to repair and replace them. And if all your cells are healthy, then you're healthy. So people just have to realize it. And that sounds too good to be true, but that's what these molecules do. That's their job in your body.
Right, right. And volumes have been written about this technology, this
Mhm.
cellular technology. This is not some, crazy scheme that someone's cooking up in a bathtub. Science is now
No.
paying attention to this. They're playing catch up. And I think it was Dr. Silverman who said to me on the program that, this has the potential to be as big a breakthrough in medical science as insulin or antibiotics. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Oh, absolutely. Or penicillin. We compared it to penicillin when it
Yes.
first came out, only it does so much more. Um, and yes, there are. My girlfriend at NIH sent me 5 years later a big article about how NIH had granted $10.5 million to the Medical University of South Carolina to open a redox research center. And then they followed it with Cornell, and then Harvard, Wake Forest, Vanderbilt, Universities of Virginia, Colorado, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Stanford, Rochester, you name it, universities around the country. And every single medical student you talk to now can tell you what redox signaling molecules are, because I've asked every single one of them I've ever interviewed. They don't know it's been stabilized and what it does when you reintroduce more back into your body, because that isn't being taught quite yet. But our hopes, of course, are that someday soon that will be known also, because
Right. I mean,
we've tried to take this to several places and tell them we've stabilized it. They didn't want to hear it.
nobody's been able to do it before. And Asea is the first and the only
Yes.
company that's been able to stabilize these redox signaling molecules outside the body. And they're right here in the blue bottle. You can drink it. I drink 8 ounces a day. Some people
Mm-hmm.
drink more. You can, as your mother did, you can get a spray bottle and spray it right into your eyes. I mean, there's absolutely no side effects. I mean, you can't.
Except good ones.
Exactly. Just to take a few moments and let's talk about the business side, because this made a huge difference. Obviously, you were in dire straits, and
Yes.
along came this opportunity for network marketing. Tell me about what a difference it's made in your life.
Well, I had never had money challenges in my life. I'd always been an entrepreneur, owned my own business. I owned my own interior design business, and I had stepped down from that to help a man with his children's website just temporarily. Didn't know 2008 was coming.
Mm.
And so when 2008 hit, he went bankrupt, left us, like never came back to work, just left us, no money coming in. And of course, at that point, nobody needed an interior designer. They were trying to save their homes, not decorate them.
Mm.
So I was left high and dry, single mom, with a daughter still at home, trying to go through college. And it was probably the most pressure stress I've ever felt in my life, because I was trying to keep this from my mom so she wouldn't worry, and from my daughter, because she'd gone through a lot already through a divorce and stuff. But So she wasn't in great shape either. So, so that's where I was, and I'd finally gotten a job as a server in a restaurant. That's the only job I could find. And I was already older. They were asking me, "Can you keep up with these 20-year-olds?" I said, "Of course I can." And I did. And I was one of their best servers, and they didn't want to lose me, but I was working from 10 in the morning till midnight or 1 or 2 every day just to try to get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the table. And I had a 20-minute break from 4 to 4:20 every day. And once this was introduced, I realized how big it was, and I wanted everybody I loved to know about it. And it just kept spreading from there, of course. But anyway, so I take 3 people's names. I go out into the car on my 20-minute break. I take a little snack because you had to eat a little something, and I call at least 3 people a day. And I just say, "There's been something remarkable that I've learned about. I would love you to know about it because I care about you so much. Would you watch a video?" Just like had been done to me. And sure enough, people started watching it. People started getting on. I saw so many things that people just never, like I said, I had one doctor that almost passed out because he'd never seen what we saw together. Um, and I did have to drive him home that day. And anyway, so I just kept seeing that over and over. And finally it got to the point, I mean, it took a year for me because it was 20 minutes a day. I'd send the videos when I get home at midnight, and I'd call and follow up the next day at the same time because that's the only time I had. And I depended on my team. It was really great. That's one of the things about ASEA that I love. We all work as a team. We all, we all just try to help each other. The more people that know about this, the better we all are. And so I just kept doing it. And one of the proudest moments of my life finally came when I went to them and said, "Can I take a leave? My son's getting married." And they knew I had this other business. And they said, "If sure, as long as you come back." I said, "Okay." But I was able to get my son's rehearsal dinner together and pay for it. Now, I hadn't been able to give them Christmas gifts. And if anybody knows me, I love giving.
Mm.
And that killed me for 3 years. I couldn't give anything to them. And I just remember afterwards just kind of standing there crying because I wrote the check and I handed it to them, and I was just so proud. And so, yes, it's turned my complete life around. And on my vision board for years, you can see in the background, I live in a mountain home. And that was on my vision board. I wanted a mountain home in Colorado where I could entertain friends and family. And I don't think my home's been empty once since I've been here.
Wow.
Lynn's been here several times.
Yes. Be sure to call Lynn, 443-254-6024. The number
Absolutely.
right there.
She's an amazing, amazing woman. She knows so much. She's probably the nicest woman I've ever met. So make sure everyone calls Lynn if you're interested in learning more. She's amazing.
Well, we really are on the cusp of a scientific medical revolution, and I would encourage people to get on board, whether you just want to revitalize your own health from
Yep.
the inside out, from the cellular level, whether you want to help a friend or a loved one, a family member, or whether you want to explore network marketing. Nothing wrong with making a few dollars and paying your way in this world. We have to. So
Absolutely. You need money to live.
absolutely. Debbie, a great pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you so much, Richard. Yes, I've been looking forward to meeting you. Lynn's spoken very, very highly of you, and a pleasure. And thanks for being part of the team and being part of the RSCA family.
Thank you. It does. It feels like a family.
Yes, always.
Bye for
Thank you.
now.
Bye for now.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.